Good morning and welcome back to my video series on how to play World of Warcraft when you are blind using the SKU mod. Again, I am doing this in World of Warcraft Classic and I am on my Warlock today. When we last left off, I had done some training on how to deal with your quest logs and your vendors and trainers, right? And so we went through and shown how to go through and pick up your skills and abilities. And as I had gone ahead and continued playing the character a little bit more, we had progressed to the point where now I have a
New range
pet.
available.
So we have a summon that I can cast now, and I've gone ahead and I've macroed that over to my F1 key.
Yes.
And that will allow me to summon my imp. But by default, there are no controls to manage your imp's function. My pet is currently set on passive, so he will only attack enemies if I am hit by said enemy. And so there are ways that you can make your pet aggressive, passive, or perform other tasks. This has to be done through the actions menu, and so we're going to do a couple of things here in today's video. We're going to assign some skills and then demonstrate the use of my pet via the action bar system. I plan on setting my pet's control and keybinds to Alt, Shift, 1 through equal sign. That way I've got it as almost like a sixth action bar. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to do some advanced navigation, and we're going to navigate from Elwyn Forest to Stormwind City. We're going to pick up the Griffin Master in Stormwind, and then we're going to pick up a couple of professions. The one profession in particular I want to get is tailoring, and this is so that I can make armor for my character without having to buy it off of the auction house. The one thing to note, though, is that as you progress your professions, it gets increasingly more difficult to make the equipment, and so sometimes you're forced to barter with other players and or purchase things off the auction house to be able to make the items that you're looking to make, especially once you get your skill points above 225. It can be rather tricky to get your professions up to where you want them, especially when they are not a gathering profession. But to start, we're going to go ahead and do our Shift F11.
Action bar plus.
And that's going to bring up our action bars. And I'm going
Bottom
to
left action bar plus.
scroll
Right
down,
action bar 2 plus. Right action bar plus. Pet action bar plus.
and you'll see that I have something called a pet action bar. And so when I activate the pet action bar
Button
by
1,
hitting
attack,
right,
key, not binded plus.
I can bind keys to
Button 2
my
follow,
pet.
key not button 3 stay key not binded plus. Button 4 firebolt key not binded
So it
plus.
has some already
Button
predetermined
2 follow.
skills,
Button 1, attack, key not binded
but
plus.
none of them are bound. So, for example, button 1 is attack,
Button 2 follow key not.
follow is
Button 3
2,
stay key not
stay
binded
is
plus.
3,
Button 4 firebolt key not binded
firebolt
plus.
is 4,
Button 5 empty key not binded plus. Button 6 empty.
and
Button
then the
7,
rest of the
button
buttons
8,
are empty because he doesn't have
Button
any
2 follow.
additional
Button
skills
1,
yet.
Attack key not binded plus. Button 1 attack key not binded
So
plus.
what I'm going to
Assign
do
no action.
is I'm going to assign a keybind
Demon plus key binding.
to this button. So my pet button 1 for attack,
Press new key now or escape to cancel.
I'm going to set to Alt Shift 1.
Warning. That key is already bound to action page 1. Press the key again to confirm new binding. The current bound action will be unbound.
So there is a thing that you can do where you can flip your pages on your action bars and have multiple action bar pages through the Shift up arrow, Shift down arrow, or Alt Shift 1 through 6. I'm going to overwrite that by pressing that keybind that I want a second time, because I generally don't deal with the scrolling of my action bars, and so it's more valuable to me to have it assigned to an ability. And it's going to ask me this each time I do this because I'm using the Alt-Shift command as part of my keybind.
Bind it to Shift 1. Pet action bar plus. Right action bar plus.
Oh,
Pet action bar plus. Right action bar plus.
so it forced it to Shift 1.
Button 1 summon him. Summon key F1 plus. William Hessel. Right action bar plus. Button 1 summon him. Summon key F1 plus. William Hessel says the invisibility liquor is ready for you. Renovate.
So I may not be able to set it to Alt-Shift F or Alt-Shift 1. That's interesting. I didn't realize that. That's something that I learned today.
Right action bar plus.
This is the first time I'm actually playing a character blind with a pet. And so I'm learning this in some ways as we go. But that's okay. Shift 1 works.
Plus. Pet action bar plus.
So we're going to go back to the pet action bar.
Follow key not bind
Set it to 2.
Assign no action.
We're going to bind a key.
Key binding.
Key
Press new
bind.
key now or escape to cancel. Warning. Pet key is already bound to action page 2. Bind it to Shift 2.
Okay, we're going to bind
action
that.
Bar plus. Button 1 attack key Shift 1 plus. Pet action bar plus.
Pet action bar 3.
Button 3 stay key not. Assign no action. Key binding. Demon plus. Key binding.
Key
Press new key
binding.
now or escape to cancel. Warning. Pet key. Bind it to Shift
And so those are all set. So now,
menu closed.
if I go out into the world
L1 6 meter east Priestess Josetta.
and I find an enemy,
BOAR plus 92 meter. Select. Close routes plus 200. Following meta route started.
we're going to go ahead and find ourselves a
Mailbox.
boar,
Mailbox. Gold chart. Still 5.
just as an example.
Marshall Duggan. Quest available. Stormwind guard. Remy 2 times. Remy 2 times. Still 3.
Looks like I'm stuck on an object. That's what that one beeping was for, so I jumped, and
Left align
apparently I was able to clear that object. And so we're going to continue to travel on.
12.
Let's see.
59 meter.
59 more meters to go.
11. 45 meter.
45 meters to go.
East.
We're traveling east.
Still 2.
2 more waypoints.
Forest spider level 05.
There we go. There's a forest
Dry
spider.
Free lesser magic wand.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell my character, to my pet, to attack that enemy. I'm going to use Shift 1,
35.
and there he goes.
30.
Cast.
35.
Combat
And then I
start.
can start casting at the same time,
20.
90.
7, 9.
and we can kill the spider real quick.
10. You have no target. Combat. Dead forest spider.
All right, so there we go. Now, if I do
Dead
Shift
forest spider.
3,
Dead forest spider.
I've given the command for my imp to stay and not move. So now my imp is going to stay where it's at. And for those who have vision, if I do a Shift 2, I call my imp back to me. And then my imp will come up to my side. So you have the ability to kind of give your pet some commands. And that becomes useful when you're trying to pull. You can, especially like if you've got a Void Walker or if you're a hunter with a tank pet, you can go in, tell your pet to attack an enemy, and then call your pet back to you to bring the pet back to the group. And then you can go ahead and proceed with shooting at your target or what have you. The nice thing is that the NPCs are usually smart enough to even navigate around line of sight scenarios. At least from my experience when I was able to play sighted. So it can be a useful tactic for pulling and for mob management. So now that we have that all set up,
Menu open.
and you guys have an idea on how the pet
Current
bar
following
works,
Menu
now what
closed.
we're going to do is we're going to set an advanced navigation point,
6 meter south.
and I'm going to set it by typing in passage.
SSGE plus.
So when I type in passage on Shift F9, and then I hit the down arrow.
SSGE plus.
Oh, I apparently
Menu
misspelled
closed.
that. Try it
6
again.
meter southeast rabbit. 6 meter. 6 meter. SSGE plus. 614 meter northwest passage Elwyn Forest to
So I've
Stormwind
got
City
some
plus.
options. I can go northwest to Stormwind.
862 meter west passage Forest Edge Elwyn Forest
I can
to
go
Westfall
west
plus.
into Westfall,
1725 meter east passage Elwyn Forest to Redridge Mountains plus.
or I can go east.
1700
To the Red Ridge
614 meter northwest passage Elwyn Forest to
The
Stormwind City plus.
passages are the areas where you can safely navigate between the two zones. The zone you're in and the zone you want to go. And it gives you directional idea so that you know which way on the map you're heading, so that you can kind of determine, okay, which zone do I want to go in based on where my position is, so that I can get to, you know, whether it's a flight point or a questing area or whatever it may be that you're trying to navigate yourself to. The passage command in the Shift F9 makes it easy to get from zone to zone.
800 604 select.
So we're going to go
Close
ahead and
routes
select
plus.
the close routes
700
for
following meta
Stormwind
route
City,
Menu closed.
and we're going to go ahead and navigate our
Still
way
10.
into Stormwind.
Dead forest spider.
Once I get to
Dead forest
Stormwind,
spider.
I'm going to set another advanced navigation point, and I'm going to look for a trainer. In particular,
Still
a,
none.
a vendor for training me on my professions. So I will look for the tailor. And then I'll navigate to the tailor, and we'll pick it up. And then once I pick that up, we'll go ahead and proceed with working on our development skill
Entered
of
line
our
zone.
profession and show how that
22
works. And so we're just going to go ahead and navigate through here. Apparently I am caught on something.
Remy 2 times.
Let's see if I can navigate
Let the line
around
soak.
here. I think that Remy 2 times, so there's
Remy
a
2 times.
cart there that you got to get around.
Still
It's kind of
eight.
annoying.
Stormwind guard.
There we go.
Marshall Duggan.
So sometimes
Still
you'll hear that beep, 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 and it tells you that you're stuck on an object, right? As I had mentioned earlier in the video. When you get stuck on an object, you can do one of 3 or 4 different things, right?
Let the
You
line
can
soak.
either sidestep to the left, sidestep to the right, move backwards, or try to jump over the object.
Elwyn Force. Still
And so you
6.
kind of have to play around and figure out which ways you can maneuver until the beeping stops, and then you can press the I key or move towards your sound of your waypoint to continue navigation. Blizzard has done a thing in the game to kind of
Still
help
5.
with botting, right? And so a lot of times people might report a blind player as a bot. And because of this, you might get bothered by a GM or another player and be like, hey,
Still
we
4.
think you're a bot. We want to make sure that you're not cheating. And you know, talk to them and respond, just as you would. You could reply to their whispers or what have you. And I'll show some of those chat functions later on in another video. But
Still 3.
what they'll do is to combat botting, because bots are not artificially intelligent. They follow a coordinate grid based on a mapping that's done. And
Stormwind City Guard.
SKU works
Stormwind City Guard.
exactly the
Enter the
same
line
way. It is
Stormwind City
dependent
Guard.
that somebody with eyesight
Still 1. Arrive
gets
at
into the
destination.
game
Stormwind City. Discover.
and begins
Stormwind
to
City.
track mapping points from location to location to help us navigate from one place to another. And so this is a community that involves not just
Grand Wildhammer.
blind players, but sighted
Grand
players,
Wildhammer.
because we need the sighted players to help us in terms of building
Archmage
out the
Cadro, appear
map
in
so that we can play
Archmage
the game
Cadro, appear in
effectively alone, or even in a group of other blind
Stormwind
players,
City
right?
Guard. Stormwind City Guard.
And so what Blizzard did to combat the botting thing is they'll randomly say, okay, we see the typical tracks that are made by these bots. And I actually learned this from a guy at PirateSoftware. He goes by Thor. I'm even going to tag him in this, I think, just because I can. But the thing that Blizzard did, and this guy Thor actually was a part of it because botting was such a problem back in the day. They would find these paths, and they would just stick a rock or a tree right in the path. And so then when GMs are scanning the game to see if anyone's botting or cheating, and they see all of these characters that are just constantly running into the same object, they would just look at the name, look at the account, bam, ban hammer, you're done. You're out of the game. And so for us as blind players, if the maps aren't redone as far as the tracking goes by a sighted individual, then we have to actively be aware that there are going to be times where there may be an object in front of us that we either have to manually step around or jump over. And so that's something to be aware of when you hear the game doing that beep, beep, beep thing. That actually becomes a very important navigational tip. And so now that we've done all of our navigation, and I'm in Stormwind, and I'm on the Stormwind bridge, I'm going to go ahead and set my
West, Stormwind City Guard. Stormwind City 7+.
tracker. And we're going to look for the Taylor tracker.
L-O-R plus L0 258 meter west Lawrence Schneider apprentice Taylor Stormwind City 1+.
So we're going to go ahead and go to the
Close routes,
apprentice Taylor because I do not have the profession yet, and that's where you'll start.
551
All of your
plus
professional
0 meter
skills
west,
start
Lawrence,
at
following that
apprentice
return.
level.
Menu close. General Duralio. Stormwind City.
Now I'm going to go ahead and start
Still
navigating
25.
over to that point, and then we're going to communicate with that Taylor trainer, and we're going to go ahead and
Major
pick up
Mandalay.
our profession.
Still 24. Check help MPLs. Still 23.
So as we navigate, you'll hear NPCs talking and
20,
players
trade
talking through here. One of the things to note is that there
Still
are some
21.
additional chat channels in the game that SKU does not read by default. That
Stormwind
is
City
general chat,
Stormwind City
trade
Guard.
chat, and looking for group.
Still
There
20.
is a way to program
Still
those
19.
channels to be
West
audible.
Mill, One shop at
We will go through
West,
all of those
Another volume.
advanced menus
Bank
later
Hills.
on.
Still
Right now,
17.
the focus
West
is
Mill,
on just
10
being
combination
able to
sickness.
play the
Still
game.
16.
And so we want to make sure that the blind community can jump in and play the game and feel comfortable with navigation and bag management and professions and questing so that they can enjoy the game without necessarily having the distractions of the chat channels, because sometimes they can be really irritating. Back in the day, there were people who had shirts that actually said, "I survived Baron's chat," because if you played Horde, Baron's chat was typically full of 10-year-olds who acted like a bunch of morons.
Mage Quarter.
All right, so we are getting into the Mage Quarter.
Skill 8.
Continuing to navigate to the city. We've got 8
Skill
more
7.
waypoints to
Skill
go.
6. Lawrence Schneider. Duncan Cullen. Alexandra Bolero. Skill 3. Alexandra Bolero. Skill 2. Duncan Cullen. Lawrence Schneider.
There he is, Lawrence Schneider.
Dialogue plus.
So,
Check help him. Lawrence Schneider.
as you can hear in my game, before I talk to this NPC, there's a pulsing tone. Doo, 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 right? That's that pulsing tone that I had mentioned in the second video that we recorded that described how to move about the game. To get that pulsing tone to stop, I'm going to hold Shift and hit F12.
Menu open. Navigation. Current
And that turns off my navigation points. Now I'm going to talk to Lawrence Schneider so I can listen to him.
Train me. Plus.
We're going to choose the Train Me option.
Left click.
Choose plus. Left click.
Trainer plus.
Now we're in the vendor window. Trainer.
Text.
Hit right.
Greetings. Can I teach you how to turn found cloth into cloth armor? Development skills. Category.
So we have a development skills category.
Apprentice tailor. Selected.
Apprentice
plus.
Tailor. And it's already selected, so I don't have to left click it.
Text. Selected. Apprentice tailor. Period. 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 Train plus.
And we're going to go down to train.
Left click.
Hit the right arrow. And left click.
Text. You may only know 2 professions at any one time. Would you like to learn tailoring as your first one?
So you're going to get this pop-up every time you try to learn a profession. And you can only learn 2 major professions at one time. You have major professions and you have sub-professions or skills. Cooking, first aid, those are sub-professions, right? Main professions are mining, skinning, herbalism, blacksmithing, enchanting, alchemy, tailoring, and leather working. So you can only have 2 profession skills. It's good to try to pair your profession skill with your sub-skill. You can get away with a little bit with tailoring and enchanting because they can produce their own materials or their materials are easily found. Tailoring, you can get the cloth off of NPCs. Enchanting, you take gear that is of uncommon or green quality or higher, and you can turn that into disenchanted material that then you can use to enchant your equipment. So most people like to pair enchanting with tailoring, blacksmithing and mining, engineering and mining, leatherworking and skinning, herbalism and alchemy. Later on, as you get further into the game, you might be doing herbalism and inking if you're in Cataclysm. Or maybe if you're an enchanter, you're going to want to pick up inscription, which requires ink, which means you need herbs. There's a lot of different combinations that you go as the game progresses into later variants of itself. But in Classic, you only have those few basic things, and so we don't need to worry about the advanced stuff like inscription and jewel crafting, because those aren't in the game yet. So we're going to go ahead and pick this as our profession.
Accept plus.
So I'm going to go down and hit the down arrow once to accept.
Left
Right
click.
arrow, left click,
Trainer
press
plus.
enter, bam. I now have tailoring. So now
Lawrence Schneider.
I'll hit escape to close that menu, and we're going to go ahead and bind tailoring to an action bar.
Action bar plus.
So I'm going to go to my action bars,
Right action bar 2 plus. Button 1. Metamorphosis. Demon charge. Key. Control F1 plus.
and then control F1. I'm
Assign
going
no
to
action.
change this.
Demonology plus. Affliction plus.
We're going to go
General plus.
to general.
Attack. Basic campfire. Cooking. Apprentice. Perception. Racial. Shoot. Tailoring. Apprentice.
I'm going to
Button
put
1.
tailoring
apprentice.
there.
Key. Control F1 plus. Button 2. Button 3. Cooking. Apprentice. Key. Control F3 plus.
Okay, and then I've got cooking on control F3.
Menu closed.
So we'll show that later too, at some point. Cooking becomes a very vital point in the game, especially if you're not a paladin or a priest that can heal themselves. Well, even with a priest, though, you want the cooking. What cooking allows you to do is you make meat that you get off of animals that you kill out in the wild, and you cook it, and you can turn that into food that gives you stats and buffs for a certain amount of time. One of the other things that you really want to pair with cooking is fishing. And so we're going to also show how the fishing system works in the game as well. But first things first,
Profession
let's
plus.
go ahead and open up our profession for tailoring.
Text. Tailoring. Cloth. Category. Plus.
So we've got a cloth category.
Simple linen pants. Orange. Plus.
So I can make simple linen pants,
Linen cloak. Orange.
a
Plus.
linen cloak,
Miscellaneous. Category.
and then
Plus.
under
Brown linen
miscellaneous,
shirt. Orange. Plus. Brown linen shirt. Orange.
I can make a
plus.
brown linen shirt, which is an undershirt. That's usually a cosmetic thing. Role players in particular, people who like to RP, which is like a form of in-game acting, they like to have some of those fancy-looking clothes for garments where they'll remove their armor and just walk around in like street clothes. I've done the RP thing before. It's kind of fun.
Trade goods. Category. Plus. Bolt of linen cloth. 38. Orange.
Trade goods.
Plus.
Bolt of linen cloth. So, bolt of linen cloth is where I need to start with my crafting because I need to be able to take the linen cloth that I have collected in the world, turn it into bolts, and then those bolts can then be used to make equipment. Now, there might be some secondary things for making equipment, like I might need to have a certain type of thread or a gem. So those are things to keep in mind when you're doing your crafting. And so it becomes important that you go ahead and select
Left click.
what you want to do.
Bolt of linen cloth. Text. Selected. Bolt
Then
of
go to
linen
the
cloth,
text
period,
selected
period.
area. Hold shift, down arrow,
Reagents.
and there's a thing here that says reagents, right? Under the reagents category, it's going to tell you what you need to be able to perform that crafting.
Linen cloth 76/2. Links. Linen cloth.
So I have 76 linen cloth. It will take 2 linen cloth to make a single bolt of linen. I have the ability
Bolt of linen cloth 38. Orange.
to make
plus.
38.
Text.
76
selected.
divided
Bolt of
by
linen
2.
cloth, period. Create plus.
So I'm going to go ahead and
Create
down.
all plus.
You can
Create
create,
plus. Left click.
and you
right
can
click.
specify a number
click.
that you wish to
Create plus.
create.
Create all plus.
Or you can do what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to choose create
click.
all.
Left click.
And I'm going to make all 38 bolts of linen cloth. And so then you just have to stand here
Lady Cotton
and
pressing
wait.
bells. Sees him. Cast.
Once he's done creating all of those bolts of linen cloth, I will then be able to look at what my tailoring skill is, because making bolts gives you points just as making gear does. They go hand in hand. And so as you increase the skill of your profession, you can then come back to the trainer and learn more recipes to make better equipment. And so I'll show that once I'm done creating these 38 bolts of cloth. I should be able to then buy more recipes. Keep in mind, you have to also make enough money to be able to afford purchasing your recipes and purchasing your skills and purchasing your training. So, selling the things that you make or selling the things that you find out in the world, either to a vendor or on the auction house, becomes critical. We'll have a separate video on the auction house later. So we're just going to wait here for him to finish casting. Each time it says cast, it means I'm creating a new item. Fortunately, bolts don't take very long to create.
Force cat in blind left chat.
Should be almost done here. The one thing I wish Scoot did was update your list and tell you how many more you still have available to create when you do the cast all. It's something that I'm going to bring up to the devs and see if we can get that added in, since I talk to the devs on a regular basis and try to make that something as a quality of life improvement. They may or may not be able to do it based on the way that the game is built, but all we can do is give it a whack and see, right? So now I'm done making my bolts. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to reopen it to refresh it because it doesn't auto-refresh. It's a bug in SCU. So to get the numbers and the skill trees to update properly, close the window, reopen the window, and then you can check it.
Tailor, cloth, simple linen pants, yellow, plus.
So now my simple linen pants are no longer orange, they're yellow.
Linen cloak, yellow, plus. Brown linen shirt, yellow, plus.
So orange guarantees to get a point. Yellow guarantees a point most of the time, and when it becomes green, then you may or may not get a point. More likely than not, it's better to just move on to something that is of a higher difficulty to make.
Trade goods. Category. Plus. Bolt of linen cloth. Yellow. Plus.
All right,
Menu. Closed.
so
General.
we're going to do a shift, control down arrow, bring up my character sheet,
Buffs. Links. Buffs.
and continuing to hold shift and control, we're going to go ahead and tap the down arrow, buffs,
Debuffs.
debuffs,
Skills. Reputation. Skills.
skills. Okay, so once I get to the skills header, I'm going to let go of control, and I'm going to tap the down arrow.
Affliction. 35 slash. Demonology. 35 slash. Destruction. 35 slash 35. Tailoring. 36 slash 75. Links. Tailoring.
And so my tailoring skill is at 36. So now, if I talk
Lord
to
Schneider. Dialogue.
the
Plus.
vendor,
Very well. Let your journey of tailoring begin. Train me. Left click. Trainer.
ask him to
Plus.
train me,
Recipes. Category.
I can buy more recipes.
White linen shirt. Selected.
White
Blood.
linen
Brown
shirt.
linen vest. New. Blood.
Vest.
Linen belt. New.
Belt.
Blood. Simple linen boots. New.
Boots.
Brown linen pants. New. Blood.
Pants.
Brown linen robe. New.
Robe.
Blood. White linen robe. New. Blood. Heavy linen gloves. New.
Gloves.
Blood. Text. Selected. White linen shirt.
So I get a whole bunch of stuff that I can buy.
Train. Plus.
So we're going to go ahead and train these up.
Close. Blood. Left click. Close. Blood. Left click. Close. Blood. Left click. Close. Blood. Train. Blood. Left click. Close. Blood. Trainer. Plus. Trainer. Plus.
Uh-oh.
Close. Blood. Text. Selected. White linen robe.
I have
Period.
run out of
Period.
money. And so the train button disappears, and I can no longer purchase any more of the available recipes to me. And so I will have to go out and do some more questing and some more killing of mobs so that I can proceed with getting enough resources to buy the rest of these recipes so that I can advance my tailoring. Another thing to note now, because I've run out of money, I will not be able to get my fishing training or buy a fishing pole. So the fishing training video will have to come at a different time. And so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and stop the video here. And hopefully this gives you an idea on how to work with professions and have some advanced navigation and how to set up your pet action bars. Thank you for watching. Please remember to click the like button and subscribe. I've noticed that many of the people who have been viewing my videos are not subscribing, so please do so. It really does help to boost the community, and the more that people like the video and subscribe, the higher up these videos will go into the algorithm so that we can get more eyes on this and bring sighted gamers and blind gamers together so that we can enjoy World of Warcraft and the other games that I will be doing videos on in the future together to have a huge gaming community devoid of sight limitation. Thank you for watching and have a great day.